This is how to get recruiters and hiring managers to find you more on LinkedIn so you can get more job opportunities. Now first, I want to show you how different the LinkedIn results are for hiring managers versus recruiters. So as a recruiter, we're going to be using LinkedIn Recruiter, which has a totally different UI than regular LinkedIn. And because I'm a recruiter, let's just say I wanted to hire another recruiter, right? So obviously I'm going to type in recruiter and then hit search. Here I filtered for recruiters that are in the Bay Area, and you can see here who is showing up at the top of my search if I was trying to find a new recruiter. Now, as a hiring manager, you're not going to have access to LinkedIn Recruiter because you have to pay for a really expensive license. So if I was a hiring manager, I only have access to normal or regular LinkedIn. So I would type in recruiter here at the top and filter by people. So you can already see that the results that a recruiter will see is drastically different than what a hiring manager would see if they're trying to find someone to hire on their team. I have noticed that the folks who show up at the top have a lot of mutual connections with me, and or they've worked at similar companies as me, or they went to the same university as me, like you can see down here. And so that's why if you do want to show up at the top of regular LinkedIn search for hiring managers, that's why it's valuable to have as many connections as possible. So knowing that the search results are going to return different people depending whether you're a hiring manager or a recruiter, how can you actually show up at the top? Well, the best way to do that, according to LinkedIn, is to achieve all-star status on your LinkedIn profile. Sophie here has a really awesome article that basically explains exactly how you do it. I'm going to link it down in the description below, but you really want to just fill out your entire LinkedIn profile and follow these key steps. But I'm going to break it down for you and kind of explain how to make it as easy as possible and some other tips and tricks. And in addition to completing your entire profile, they also want to make sure that you are an active user. So you're going to want to try to engage on LinkedIn as much as possible and create your own content and post quite often. Now, first, you're probably wondering, how do you even check what your status is at your LinkedIn profile? So when you are editing it, you're going to go to your profile, right? And then you're going to actually see what your profile level is under the suggested for you section. So you're going to click over here, and then down here, I already have all-star status. So if you want to achieve all-star status on LinkedIn so you can show up at the top of the searches, you're going to want to have a complete profile. And that's going to start with a professional photo at the top of your profile here. Now, to keep it simple, you don't have to do anything really fancy. Just take your smartphone, turn it on the camera mode. If you have portrait mode on an iPhone, then do that. Dress up in business casual, and then just get a plain background and snap a photo. Doesn't really matter what the background is because it's going to be blurry anyways. Then upload it to your LinkedIn. Next, you're going to want to complete and update your work history. Now, for this one, you want to have as much relevant job titles and work history for whatever job it is that you are trying to get hired for. So if you did a career switch early on, you may actually want to omit that from your LinkedIn work experience because it's going to throw off the algorithm and it's going to hurt you showing up in certain searches. Also, try to use industry standard job titles that are really common for your industry as well as common leveling terms. So for example, if your company has weird job titles, like they gave you a product manager job title, even though you're technically in sales, then you should brand yourself as a sales representative instead. And if they've given you an inflated job title, make sure you adjust it for the market conditions. So for example, if they tell everyone, all the engineers at their company are called staff engineers, which at larger companies is like an entry-level engineering position, you don't want to put that on your LinkedIn profile because then recruiters are only going to find you when they're searching for junior level folks. So you would want to adjust your level and title to match your experience. That's why for me, for example, I actually should remove my previous work experience here because me being a management consultant is no longer relevant for me being a recruiter, which may hurt my search results. Next, you want to have a clear summary statement about what you do at the top of your LinkedIn profile. And for me, this is my summary section in the About. So you want to talk about how much years of experience you have and what your domain and industry focus areas are. So for me, I'm saying I'm a technical recruiting lead and I focus on engineering positions for the principal level and above. Then I'm talking about the types of domain of candidates that I hire for. So I'm saying it's for custom silicon, AI, and hardware. I'm also giving additional context with keywords that are going to show up in my job searches. So for example, they're going to want, maybe they want to hire someone who does have full cycle recruiting experience. That means I can do sourcing as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion hiring, as well as closing. So I can do all of the different aspects of the recruiting process. Now, if you're not sure what keywords to be including on your profile, Jeff Su actually has a really good tip, and he recommends you find a job posting online, go ahead and copy most of it, and then throw it into a word cloud generator. And what that is going to do is it's actually going to show you which jobs or which keywords show up the most, and then it's going to allow you to see what are the technical keywords that you should be including on your summary, as well as in the description of your work history. So look at this. The next thing you want to do is make sure you're updating your industry and your location. So for me here, I'm actually in the San Francisco Bay Area. Now, you don't actually want to put something as specific as Mountain View. You actually want to give yourself a broader reach, because that way, whenever recruiters are searching, which I'll show you here, we actually can search a bigger area, like San Francisco Bay Area, or, for example, Los Angeles metropolitan area. So the broader you can put your general location, the better. And I don't recommend you only put the country. I've seen some people just put United States, and that's actually not going to help you these days, because a lot of companies are returning back to office and requiring folks to be local. And so it actually will help you when local companies are trying to find candidates who are willing to come into the office. And so it's better to be more specific and put your general city location and not just the country. Next, update your education section. The only thing I want to put here is make sure that you only put your major or what you studied if it's relevant for the job in which you're trying to get. Okay, so next you want to list your skills, but more importantly, you need to get endorsements on LinkedIn. And this is going to be the really tricky one that's going to take a little bit of extra effort in terms of what you're doing. So you go down here, and this is how you can actually add your skills. And obviously try to use the ones that are related to your job. But for LinkedIn, in order to actually achieve all-star status, you're going to need to have people who ideally have the same skills as you listed on their LinkedIn profile to come in and endorse you on it. And so in order to do this, I would talk to some of your coworkers and former managers and reach out and have them endorse you on some of these skills, and then you can endorse them as well. Next, you're going to want to have as many connections on LinkedIn as possible. And in order to do that, you're going to need to start sending invitations and reaching out to people, ideally who work in the same industry and job as you. It doesn't help you to add random people. Of course, it does help to add recruiters. Now, in order to do that, you can see here, I get tons of invites from people that I don't know all the time, and you want to increase your chances that this person actually accepts your friend request. So make sure you write something. Ideally, you want to add some value, or try to engage with them first on some of their organic posts or things that they're sharing, and then strike up a conversation from there. That way, they're much more likely to actually add you back. So you should include some type of message. Honestly, I get tons of invites all the time, and unless you write something to me, I'll probably just delete it. Now, the article does mention it. It's not listed in one of the top 7, but I do know that in order to show up at the higher end of the search results, like for recruiters here on the recruiter view, you are going to need to be really active on LinkedIn. Now, it doesn't mean you actually need to create all of your own content or blog forms from scratch all the time, but you do need to engage with other people on LinkedIn on a weekly basis at a minimum. Now, to keep it simple, you could actually just find articles from other people and engage with that. You can like it, comment, you can repost it. So you don't have to always create your own stuff. But as a pro tip, if you work in a really technical field, like you're in type of an engineering position or a consulting position, it is actually advantageous to create your own content here, because when a recruiter or hiring manager finds your profile and they click it, they can actually see what articles you've written up here, and it'll help you stand out as an industry expert. And in a technical field, this is what's going to get you an extra opportunity to interview. Now, when I was doing research for this video, I was trying to figure out if anyone could actually talk about how the LinkedIn algorithm works, but because the algorithm changes all the time, it's not super accurate. And that's why I do think this is currently the best way, if you want to show up at the top of as many searches as possible, is to achieve all-star status on LinkedIn. So again, make sure your entire profile is completed, and make sure you're engaging in content and sharing stuff at least once a week. This will help you show up at the top of these searches, so that way recruiters will start reaching out to you even more. And for other video tips, make sure you click subscribe. And why don't you put down in the comments what other job search tips can I help provide, and what questions can I help answer for you. Thank you all for watching, and don't be afraid to shake things up now that you have an optimized LinkedIn.